Hey, good morning, everybody. David McLeod here from Northern California, your facilitator, coach, and spiritual counselor. And today we are on episode 41 of Life Matters TV, and we have a special guest with us. And before we talk about our special guest, I'm going to introduce my buddy and co-host, Tommy Stoffel. So, Tommy, take it away and say hello.
Hey, everybody. Thanks, David. Welcome to this week's episode of, as David said, Life Matters TV. Yeah, I'm starting to lose count, but every week is fun, and all the information that seems to spew forth, seems people are getting good use out of it. So happy to be here, and happy to welcome a friend of mine, and also a woman you're going to learn a lot about today, named is Josette Prevost. And Josette is joining us from California. We're both in the LA area, about maybe 45 minutes apart physically, but so that's the zone of the world where we're coming from today. And today we're going to talk about the past. And we're going to talk about the title of the topic is Resolving the Past. Resolving the Past. It's coming. And so without any further ado, I'm going to give Josette the floor here, and we're going to say, hey, welcome, Josette, and tell us a little bit about yourself and what we're going to be talking about today, the past.
Okay. I thought you guys were going to start. That's okay.
Well, you can say hello at least, and then we'll get started.
Yes, that's fine. So, yeah, the past, we often torture ourselves with the past. But I think it's a matter of perspective. If you learn something from a past opportunity, challenge, person, accident, then it was worth something. There's an old Chinese proverb or something like that goes where this farmer one day discovers that his favorite horse has just taken off. Somebody left the gate open, and he flew. So he's like beside himself. So he goes and consults with the sage of the village, and the sage says, well, this could be a good thing, this could be a bad thing, you don't know yet, you have to wait and see. So a couple weeks later, that horse comes back with 4 horses, wild horses. So, of course, he's very happy. Next thing that happens, his son tries to tame the wild horses. He falls off the horse and breaks a few things in his body, and he's on the bed and not able to move. And, of course, it's his only son, so, the guy is desperate, so he goes to see the sage again, and the sage says, well, it could be a bad thing, but it could be a good thing. You don't know. We have to wait and see. Then a war is declared, and the lord of the place comes to him. They gather all the young men to go take them to the war to fight. But because the guy can't move, he can't go to the war. So the father gets to keep his son. So anyway, so just a little snippet of something to say. Sometimes we need to sit down and breathe and revisit the past with a different perspective. Okay, so the floor is back to you if you want to.
Yeah, I like that little story, and I've actually heard it before. It's pretty awesome.
Yes.
And from my perspective,
yes.
Somebody posted something on Facebook today that just resonated with me, and I've heard it before. But the truth is, so far, I've gotten through everything in my life. All the good, all the bad, everything that's been in my life. I'm here now. I got through it. So it's all good, really. I have a 100% success rate. How many people can claim that? So it doesn't, and what I've also learned about myself is I wouldn't be where I am today without the sum of the experiences that I've had in my life. So everything has contributed in one way or another to how I show up today. So personally, I think it's all good. Although in the moment when it was happening, it may not have seemed good.
Yep.
Exactly.
Josette, you said it nicely. It's a matter of perspective. And, we can look at the past and we can learn from it, and that's what we should be doing with the past: looking at it and learning from it, and seeing where we've come from. And David, we seem to be popping around on the screen a lot. I'm not sure if you're controlling who's talking, but the faces keep changing a lot.
Yeah, I'm trying to control that.
Okay, and so. It's a matter of perspective, and if we look at things like it's lessons I'm learning, even the hard stuff, it's a lesson I learned. It's something I needed to experience, and I had to get through it, and I'm better off for it. And so there's just a way of starting to heal. Okay, not only heal the past, but heal what's happening to me now. Even the tough stuff that happens is happening for a reason, and we're supposed to learn from it. But then that becomes our past. Where the past gets sticky, and Josette, I think you opened with this, the suffering of it, is that we don't let go of the past. And what I mean by letting go is the emotional heaviness of it, the suffering of it, the baggage of it. That's where the past is something that we need to help resolve, because having memories and having realizations that everything I've done has led me to this point and it's all served its purpose and it's great is one thing. But if we still have all these heavy negative trail of emotions in our past, then it's impacting our present moment. Either physically, it's wreaking havoc on our body, or emotionally, it's wreaking havoc, or it's making decisions. We're not making clear-headed decisions.
It's true.
Go ahead. You're on.
Okay. So you're talking about this current life, which of course we're very concerned about, and that's where our minds and hearts should be at. But I'd like to go even into past lives. Before we were born, if you believe we have many lives, but at the very least before you were born, maybe you're buying a little into that, we got together with our soul family, our soul group, guides, different people, to decide what we were going to work on and experience in this life. But of course, as soon as we're born, we forget that. So I practice QHHT, which means Quantum Healing Hypnosis Technique. It's Dolores Cannon developed this technique, and in the course of doing hypnosis with her husband 50 years ago, at the time they were only using it to lose habits like smoking or that sort of thing. But they happened to have a client who spontaneously went into a past life, and she was a flapper in Chicago, and she was involved with the mob. So they were fascinated because she kept talking about details that they could afterwards verify, in history books, and names of places that she didn't know consciously. So anyway, so that's opening the door to that. And she, of course, developed her technique over 50 years, and she felt that sometimes people bring stuff from a past life that belongs in the past life. So it's stuck in your subconscious, and you'd like to let it go. So I can just do a couple of interesting examples, if you wish. For example, this woman was not able to lose weight, no matter what she tried. And so she went for a session with Dolores Cannon, and it turns out as she was dying in a previous life, and she was like a big tribe kahuna chief, she had not trained somebody to take her place after she passed. So as she's dying, she's thinking or saying out loud, I will never be rid of the weight of this responsibility. So literally, her higher self was keeping the weight in this life. And after she was able to leave this in the past, the weight went off, and she went to a more appropriate weight for her size, height, whatever. Another example is this guy was having problems with his girlfriend, and yet...
Hang on a second,
Josette?
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, before you go any further, I like to just discuss this a little bit, because this notion of past lives is something that I know some people completely accept it without any argument at all, and other people, I've heard people argue against it quite strongly. And so I personally have never had any kind of a memory experience that I can recall that led me to believe that there might have been some kind of a past life event that I'm associated with.
Okay.
Now, I have spoken to a lot of other people, and I just simply asked them, have you ever had a memory that doesn't seem associated with your current life, and that may have been from some time in the past? And some people say yes, some people say no. So what I'd like to know is, maybe you can answer this, how can we possibly know, aside from going through this hypnotherapy stuff, that we may have had a past life? I mean, the way you talk, it sounds like you believe everybody has had past lives. I'm not convinced, so I'd like to hear more about that.
Okay. So I've been studying Buddhism since 1977, which is a long time. So at first, you know, I was raised Catholic, like most people, Christian kind of thing. And so we just believe, okay, you live, you die, you're done. And so when I studied Buddhism, it said life encompasses both life and death. It's like kind of like this, the latent phase and the active phase. So I love that concept that life had both. It was deep enough to encompass both life and death. But let's say you don't believe that at all. I'm going to backtrack and come back to that. Okay, so how do you explain, like, for example, Mozart, who was born with all this talent? My feeling is he worked on it so many lives, and that's why he came in, and at 5 years old, he was able to compose these unbelievable pieces of music. But okay, let's say you still don't believe that there's past lives. If you meditate, or even just trust that your imagination has a function, let's just talk about imagination. When you meditate about a problem, then you may have ideas, and even if you think, well, I just made it up, if you come up with something that makes you feel at peace and relieves you, then it has value, even if you think it's just your imagination. I feel like all of our lives are like in our body, etheric and physical and otherwise, and it's almost like a computer. So if we take the time to meditate, some people are able to sit or watch their breath, or they meditate when they go to a sport and they're in the zone, or when they take a bath, or whatever you do that gets you kind of in that kind of low state. So that would be one way to talk about that. Does that make sense? Or I don't mind if people disagree with me. Go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead, Tony.
No, so David, right, where's the proof, right? And this is actually a topic we were talking about in the green room right before the show. This whole concept of faith. How do you have faith that there's something beyond us, something beyond this life? And sometimes it is just a matter of, you know, if you don't have the experience yourself, reading about other people's experiences. And I'm gonna do this because of our special guest here. But a book that I recently read, and David, I think I recommended it to you, is called The 3 Waves of Volunteers and the New Earth. This is a Dolores Cannon book. So the person who taught Josette her practice, her technique. And in this book are hundreds of experiences of people who did this past life hypnotherapy, and it's their actual recordings of their sessions. And right. if you I look at this from a very engineer. I'm an engineer. I'm a scientist by nature, by this lifetime's nature, and so I'm very analytical. And there was a lot of things that tied together in here that I just started dissolving the doubts more and more and more that there's something to this. Mm-hmm. And then I did actually go, and I did have a session with Josette that did open up my eyes and my memories to something that was a life of mine that isn't this current one. So I've kind of had that experience now, and that kind of sealed it even firmer. So yeah, it's great. But you know, we're you know, got to prove it. You know, we got that mindset. We got to prove it, and that's what I did for myself. And you know, you're always encouraged to try that for yourself too.
Yeah, I got a comment here from Sarah Jane. I'm going to just read it out here so people can hear what she said. She says, I was affected by a past life and kept falling downstairs. Now I have acknowledged what happened and forgiven myself. I know I will not hold myself back in this life the way I did in that other one. So that's an interesting perspective right there. And I mean, when I brought up the question, it isn't that I necessarily have doubt. I have a lot of faith in stuff that I don't see and experience in my own life. But I'm thinking that some people may have that reaction, and I just want to figure out how do we talk to those people and still, you know, encourage them and help them to heal whatever issues are going on for them from the past in this life, or whether it's some past event that happened in some prior life before that. That's really what I think we should be talking about here today, and that's what I want to focus the energy on.
Absolutely. Yes. Get back to the past, whether it's this. Let's just talk about the past in general for a few minutes. I I went to the store yesterday and I picked up this.
Was that a monkey box or something?
This is a barrel of monkeys.
Oh yeah.
It's a what?
And here's one said monkey. And to me, our memories of whatever past it is, the ones that are attached to heaviness, to negativity, to drama, to trauma, to heartbreak, are until we deal with them, like Sarah Jane dealt with this thing and she faced it and it dissolved its impact. But until we do, it's like our mind has it follows one train to the next, 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 to the next. It leads us to sadness, it leads people to depression, and these are all past memories that are attached to heavy emotions.
Yeah.
So regardless if it's this life or a previous life, it's something we have to deal with. So yeah, let's talk about how we deal with it. And there's dealing with it, facing it, like Sarah Jane's explaining, is there's a process and procedure to doing that. So David, what about this whole thing of letting go of the past, letting go of the heaviness? Any thoughts on that?
Well, my philosophy is heal the tissues, release the issues. Everything ultimately comes down into the body, and whether the memory that's being triggered is from this life or from another life, I don't think it really matters that much as long as we do the healing. That's the most important piece. Now, having some understanding of where this came from could be helpful, and probably is very helpful in that process. So I wouldn't discourage it, but I wouldn't want that to be the sole focus. Now, on the other hand, maybe I am interested in just finding out, was I ever really a captain on a ship and, a pirate? Because I talk like a pirate sometimes, you know what I mean?
Maybe you were. Who knows? But you make a good point with the fact that our higher self, whatever is connected to the source of life, we're like kind of an iceberg. There's still a part that's up there, and then we're incarnate in this body. And we only take a certain percentage into this body because it could not contain the whole thing energetically. And so the communication system is, as you pointed out, it's like it's through our body, what we feel and little ailments. The daughter of Dolores Cannon wrote a book actually called Soul Speak. And for example, she was talking about the link between liver and anger, of course. So if we keep criticizing ourselves or life or complaining, then you may have like a little glitch in the liver or something. So it's time maybe to detox. What are you trying to, what is toxic in your life that is creating this? So I think that's more in line with what you're trying to talk about, right?
Exactly. And the stuff that you were talking about the past lives, that's important too. I mean, I started reading that book, Tommy, that you talked about, the 3 Waves of Volunteers. There's a lot of really good stuff in that book, and I highly recommend it to people. I mean, it certainly opened my eyes to some things that I hadn't thought about before. So I would encourage people to read that, and at the same time, do their own healing work. So let's figure out the right solution to help people with that right now.
Yeah, you always have to take responsibility. That's like a big word, taking responsibility. So looking at something, and it always takes 2 to tango, right? So, okay, I was going to talk about I'm going to talk about like a little session that I did. I exchanged sessions with a fellow woman who took the class alongside with me. And so I had kind of an interesting, sometimes people go into a specific past life, sometimes they go into this current life, and sometimes it's just symbols that your subconscious is sending to you. So just a little snippet from that session I did. I was a little girl, I was maybe 4 years old, in the house where I was raised, and I didn't see anybody around, but as I was walking around, about this high from all the piece of furniture and like that, I just had a sense of calmness. It's almost like I had my current self into the kid's body, and I was revisiting the past, but there was a lot of peace to it. I felt like I've already lived this, and I'm okay. It's fine. There was a sense of interest and history in it, but there was no charge to it. Then the next scene that spontaneously came to mind was I saw there were 6 people in my family, mom, dad, and 4 kids. I'm the eldest. So there was 6 people around the table where we used to eat, but it was not like bodies. It was like the shape of a surfboard, and it was all the colors of the aura. And so the message I got was we all played a role, like we were the kids, so we were much younger, the parents were their age, and we came in at a certain time period. But we all came together for the fun of it and the experience. And again, we were a certain age, but ultimately we were all grown-up souls looking for something in particular, and we decided to get together and live this life. So I felt it was a really kind of cool, it was not a past life, it was a current life, but it was a different perspective on it. So
yeah, it sounds like it sounds like what you're saying is that you recognized that on some level you had made a pre-birth decision to create some kind of events or circumstances and the situations where you would meet certain people in order to experience some aspect of yourself. That's what I'm hearing in your description, and I totally buy into that. I think we all choose how to come into this world, where we're going to come in, what time we're going to come in. Whether we do it multiple times, that I don't personally have the experience of, but some people do. So I'll just trust that they're telling me the truth. And you know, I think that's real interesting. Cool stuff. Thank you.
Thank you. And I was going to do at the end, so I don't know how close we are to the end. I'll let you guys monitor that. But again, to remove the charge from whatever we've gone through, either this past or a past life, but we're concerned about this life, you know, people who bug you on a permanent basis. There's a forgiveness process. It's very short. Yeah. You know, but the Lord sort of to it, and it would be nice to do for everybody. So whenever we're coming close to the end, I can do that.
All right. We'll bring it right back to that. So releasing the charge is the concept here, and whether it's a this life thing or a past life thing, it's like I was in my dentist's office yesterday, and my dentist knows that I kind of practice peace of mind things, and she said, "Do you know I read something that stress induces inflammation of the gums, and it causes teeth problems." I'm like, okay, so that's what this is, right? The stress monkeys, and the stress is hanging on to all that stuff of the past with charge. The charge is the energy of it. So I'm just trying to throw out all the different words we're using because it's a language we don't commonly talk about, and releasing the charge. And there are some powerful things that I know, David, you teach. That's some of the core of what you do with the shadow work. That's the shadow is a energy. It's a charge, and I do the same thing with the thoughts in our heads. And one of the things, I'm rambling a little bit, but Josette, the other thing, the point that you and I talked about before this call was that not only can we look at resolving charges of our past with looking into the past, but we can also get into confirming maybe what we're doing here, confirming our purpose. We have a feeling, we have a hunch, we have a sense of purpose or mission or statement, which we were going to do a show next week on. And I actually, in my session, actually did experience a past life where it verified a lot. It showed me a lot of why I am who I am today and what I'm doing today. And it took a lot of the doubt and guesswork out of my current purpose and mission here on this planet. So it can help in a lot of different ways, looking at the past. Yeah.
So I'm curious, Josette, how long does this little process take that you want to do?
Maybe 3-4 minutes.
So maybe we ought to get to it right now because we're down to, but we only have 6 minutes left.
Okay. So I'm gonna read something. So okay. So if you're not driving, don't close your eyes. But if you can, where you are, go ahead and close your eyes. And I'm just gonna read Dolores Cannon's process. So she's of course believing that there are past lives. So when you were on the spirit side before entering this life, you made a plan for what you hoped to accomplish in your present life. You also made contracts with people you would be involved with. If you have problems with someone in your life that you would like to forgive, you don't have to do this face to face. That's too difficult. Besides, the person you're still angry with may live very far from you, or the person may have already passed away. So this exercise is done mentally, mind to mind. So picture the person in your mind, look them in the eyes and say, we tried, we really, really tried, but it...
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh.
We seem to have lost Josette here.
Right at the eye closed.
Well, we tried, Tommy. We really, really tried.
So Josette kind of read this one to me the other day, and I'll do a little continuing, and hopefully she'll pop back in here. But the idea is that you're in your mind, you're talking to somebody that you still have some negative energy with, some charge with, whether it's somebody in your current life or somebody who's left your life, or maybe somebody you don't know about anymore. But negative charge, and you actually in your mind say, you know what, we tried really hard, we did the best we could, but now I'm going to release you from my grip. I'm going to release you energetically, and kind of forgive, and it's not kind of, it's a forgiveness ceremony, is what she prompted me and told me it was at the beginning, and you actually asked yourself to be forgiven, and you forgive yourself for that relationship, for that charged situation, and you forgive the other person. What you're doing is you're untying the knot, you're untying the monkey hands, and releasing a grip.
Yeah.
So that's the gist of what she was explaining. The words are very beautiful, and maybe we can get them and post them or something to follow up here.
Yeah, I think one of the things, as you were describing that, I've actually gone through some exercises like this, particularly in my, I had some pretty heavy charge around my relationship with my mother for quite a few years. And once I did a lot of tissue work, shall we say, and healed the tissues, released the issues, then I was able to see my mother in a whole different way for the amazing, beautiful, loving woman that she really was. And I was able to do this kind of work, connect with her on a kind of a spiritual level, and actually see myself holding her hands, and not holding on, like so, but just holding and connecting and just saying, thank you for all that you did, and thank you for everything that you've created for me. I know I had a lot of issues with you, and that was my stuff, and I'm releasing you from responsibility for that. I take responsibility for my own reaction. And I said, I just appreciate everything that you did. I'm grateful, and now I'm just releasing this energy. It's gone. It's gone. So now every once in a while I'll see my mother in my mind somehow. Maybe I'll be looking outside, or I'll be driving in the car and just kind of relaxing, and I'll just feel her presence. And it's such a different feeling than it used to be before. And that is amazing to me. The forgiveness is absolutely essential. Not for my mom. I mean, I'm sure that she really had no need to be forgiven, but I needed to forgive in order to release myself. That's what forgiveness is about.
Let yourself off the hook. Beautiful, David. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah.
So next week, we're going to talk about purpose. How to be on purpose. A lot of people and a lot of things I'm saying right now are people like kind of searching for what's my mission, what's my purpose. I know I'm supposed to do something. What is it? We talked about this a little bit before, but as David said earlier, he and I were talking about this and said we can talk about this one all the time, because people are trying to come into their purpose. And so next week we're going to talk about being on purpose.
One of my favorite topics, being on purpose. And tied in with that, very closely related to that, is the whole idea of knowing who I am. I mean, you can't really know your purpose if you don't know who you are. So the two pieces come together, and we're going to be talking about those in some detail. What I would also like to tell you, folks, and just remind you that all of our past episodes of Life Matters TV are available on our website. You can watch them there. Our website is life-matters-tv.com. And in addition, we've extracted out all the audios, and all of that is now available up on iTunes. And if you go to our website, life-matters-tv.com, you'll find links to our audio replays. So, and then the other thing, of course, is you can follow us on Twitter at Soul Talk Guys. So I'm going to pass it back to Tommy and see what he has to say.
All right, about the website and all the videos that are there. If we say go watch all the videos, that's going to explode your mind. But you're probably facing some situation right now, and we're getting enough of a library there that you can go back and click through the titles, and I'm sure you're getting to a point where you can probably find something that'll help resolve a current problem you're having. So think of it that way. So it's a resource, it's a library where you can go pick a book off a shelf and spend 30 minutes to fix something that's going a little sideways in your life right now. Hopefully that'll help.
Yeah, actually, there's a searching function there as well. So you can search based on content, based on tags, based on titles, and help yourself. Have fun with it. All right, Tommy. Great being with you again as always.
In absence, I will thank Josette so much. Josette, thanks so much for joining us today. I had a great time with you, and hopefully we'll see you again.
Yeah. All right. Bye-bye, everybody.